Listen to me, friends. I want you to pause for a moment. Yes, I mean it. Stop scrolling. Stop scrolling through your feed. Stop rushing through your day. Stop letting distractions steal your attention. Why? Because this exact moment, right now, was scheduled by God. Not by accident, not by coincidence, but by the Creator of the universe, who knows your heart, your struggles, and your potential. Every second of your life has meaning. Every challenge you face, every delay you experience, every door that seems closed, God has placed intentionally. And just like He orchestrates the rising of the sun and the falling of the rain, He orchestrates the moments in your life, even the quiet ones, so that they align perfectly with His plan for you. Life often feels chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes even unfair. We make plans, set goals, and work tirelessly toward our dreams, yet it seems that the results don't always align with our expectations. We find ourselves asking, why now? Why this delay? Why am I still waiting? In these moments, it's crucial to understand the concept of divine timing. Divine timing means that every moment of our lives is orchestrated by God. It's the belief that nothing happens by accident, and that every second, every encounter, and every challenge is part of a greater plan designed for our ultimate good. What seems like waiting, delay, or randomness from a human perspective is actually part of a perfectly coordinated sequence controlled by a loving and all-knowing God. Divine timing requires trust. Trusting that God's schedule is perfect even when it contradicts our own sense of urgency or understanding is the cornerstone of faith. It is easy to grow impatient when we see others advancing, achieving, or reaching milestones while we remain in the shadows. But it is precisely in these quiet, seemingly stagnant moments that God is at work behind the scenes. He is preparing us, shaping our character, refining our faith, and setting the stage for breakthroughs that will align perfectly with His purpose for our lives. What we perceive as delays are often periods of preparation. God uses these moments to strengthen us, to cultivate resilience, and to ensure that when the time comes, we are fully ready to embrace the opportunities He has planned for us. Divine timing also emphasizes the importance of perspective. From a human viewpoint, life's events can seem random or chaotic. We often measure progress by results, achievements, or visible milestones. However, God operates on a scale that we cannot fully comprehend. He sees the bigger picture, the unseen connections, and the long-term effects of each moment. When we surrender to His timing, we allow ourselves to align with His wisdom rather than our limited understanding. This surrender does not mean passivity or inaction. Rather, it means actively living, preparing, and trusting that the right doors will open at the right time. Another critical aspect of divine timing is patience. Patience is not simply waiting. It is how we behave while we wait. It is the cultivation of faith, hope, and perseverance in the midst of uncertainty. In the Bible, there are countless examples of individuals who had to wait for God's timing. Abraham waited decades for the fulfillment of God's promise of a child. Joseph endured years of hardship before rising to a position of influence in Egypt, and David spent years in preparation before becoming king. In each case, the waiting period was essential for God's plan to unfold perfectly. Likewise, in our own lives, delays are often a preparation period, molding us into the person capable of handling the blessings and responsibilities that God intends to place in our lives. Understanding divine timing also helps us avoid frustration and fear. When we recognize that God schedules every moment, we are less likely to be consumed by anxiety over what is not yet visible. Life becomes less about control and more about trust. We begin to see obstacles, challenges, and even setbacks not as signs of failure, but as integral parts of God's orchestration. Every step, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, contributes to the fulfillment of a greater purpose. Ultimately, divine timing reminds us that our lives are not a series of random events, but a carefully designed journey guided by a loving Creator. It encourages us to pause, to trust, and to remain faithful in every season, knowing that God's schedule is perfect. The moment you feel lost, overlooked, or delayed, remember that nothing in your life is wasted. Every experience, encounter, and opportunity is meticulously arranged to lead you to exactly where you are meant to be. By embracing divine timing, you open yourself to God's blessings and align with His purpose, allowing His perfect plan to unfold in its appointed moment. In the fast-paced world we live in today, it has become almost second nature to rush through life, often without fully noticing the moments that truly matter. We scroll endlessly through social media, check notifications every few minutes, and move from one task to the next without pause. In the middle of all this noise and distraction, it is easy to miss the subtle ways God communicates with us. That is why pausing and paying attention is so crucial. God often speaks in whispers, in quiet nudges, or through moments that may seem ordinary at first glance. If we fail to pause, we risk missing the divine opportunities He places before us, opportunities that could change the trajectory of our lives. To pause is not merely to stop physically, it is to stop mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It is a conscious decision to disengage from distractions and tune into the presence of God. It requires intentionality. When we pause, we create space in our hearts and minds for God to speak, for insight to emerge, and for clarity to replace confusion. Life can feel overwhelming when we are constantly on the move, yet it is in these moments of stillness that divine guidance often becomes apparent. Just as a musician pauses between notes to allow the melody to breathe, we too must pause in our lives to allow God's plan to unfold. Paying attention goes hand in hand with pausing. It is not enough to merely stop moving. We must actively engage our senses, thoughts, and hearts to recognize God's presence. Paying attention means listening to the subtle messages in our lives, the repeated signs, the meaningful coincidences, and the inner convictions that guide our decisions. These are often moments designed specifically for us, divinely orchestrated to steer us toward our purpose. The act of noticing, reflecting, and discerning requires a focused mind and an open heart. Without attention, we might walk past our destiny, mistaking God's appointments for coincidence or chance. One of the challenges in pausing and paying attention is overcoming the distractions that constantly pull at us. Our modern lives are filled with noise. Phones, emails, social media, work pressures, and even our own restless thoughts. These distractions create a barrier between us and God's voice. To truly pause, we must prioritize stillness, setting aside time to reflect, pray, and listen. This doesn't mean withdrawing from life. It means engaging with life more deeply by aligning our awareness with the divine rhythm that God has set for us. Pausing also cultivates mindfulness, which strengthens our ability to recognize God's timing and guidance. When we practice mindfulness, we are fully present in each moment, observing our surroundings, emotions, and thoughts without judgment. This heightened awareness allows us to see the subtle ways God is working around us and within us. Sometimes the most powerful messages come in the smallest moments. A kind word from a stranger, an unexpected opportunity, a sudden insight during prayer. By being attentive, we equip ourselves to respond to these moments with discernment and faith. Furthermore, pausing and paying attention nurtures gratitude and trust. When we slow down and observe God's work in our lives, we become aware of the blessings that might otherwise go unnoticed. Gratitude reinforces our faith, reminding us that even in challenging times, God is present and active. Trust grows as we recognize that God is intentional in His timing and guidance, carefully placing moments before us that are meant to shape, guide, and bless us. Ultimately, the practice of pausing and paying attention is an act of obedience. It is saying to God, I am willing to stop, to listen, and to receive what you have for me. In a world that constantly urges us to move faster, achieve more, and consume endlessly, choosing to pause is a radical act of faith. It positions us to fully embrace the moments that God has scheduled for us, ensuring that we do not miss the divine appointments meant to transform our lives. When you learn to pause and pay attention, you begin to see life different. You start noticing the intentionality behind each encounter, the guidance embedded in every challenge, and the opportunities that emerge when you least expect them. By giving yourself the gift of stillness and focused awareness, you align your heart with God's purpose, allowing Him to lead you through each carefully arranged moment. One of the most important truths to understand in life is that God's plan for us is far greater than anything we can imagine. Human beings often measure success and fulfillment by what is visible to the eye, by achievements, material gains, recognition, or the speed at which things happen. When we compare our lives to others, or when we feel delayed or overlooked, it is easy to question God's purpose for us. Yet, what we often fail to realize is that God operates on a scale that surpasses our understanding. His vision for our lives extends far beyond the immediate moment, the temporary setback, or the small victories we see. God's plan is bigger, deeper, and more transformative than our limited perspective allows us to comprehend. Life can sometimes feel discouraging when the results of our efforts do not match our expectations. We pray for breakthroughs, work hard, and invest time, yet the outcome may appear stagnant. It is in these moments that we must remind ourselves that God's plan is not bound by human timing, human logic, or human limitations. What may seem like a delay, a closed door, or a missed opportunity is often part of a larger tapestry that God is weaving. One that will ultimately bring about a greater purpose and a deeper fulfillment than we could have orchestrated on our own. Understanding that God's plan is bigger requires faith. Faith allows us to trust that even when life does not go according to our personal schedule, it is still progressing according to God's perfect design. Faith means believing that the challenges we face, the delays we endure, and the trials we experience are not meaningless. Every circumstance, every encounter, and every setback is part of a divine strategy meant to shape our character, strengthen our resolve, and prepare us for the fullness of the blessings to come. God's plan is never small. It is always purposeful, always intentional, and always designed to fulfill the destiny He has written for us. Recognizing the magnitude of God's plan also brings perspective. Often, we become frustrated when we do not see immediate results. We focus on what is visible and tangible, forgetting that God works in ways that are sometimes unseen. Like a gardener tending to seeds beneath the soil, God nurtures, grows, and strengthens what cannot yet be seen, knowing that in due season, the harvest will arrive. His plan involves not only our personal growth, but also the impact we will have on others, the influence we will carry, and the legacy we will leave behind. What we consider small steps or temporary trials may actually be laying the foundation for monumental breakthroughs and eternal significance. Another critical aspect of understanding God's bigger plan is patience. When we trust in His design, we are willing to wait for the fullness of what He intends for us. Patience does not mean passivity. It means persistence and faithfulness while acknowledging that God's timing is perfect. We may not see the entire blueprint of our lives, but God does. Every decision, every delay, and every detour serves a purpose in the grander picture of our journey. By surrendering to His plan, we allow ourselves to move forward with confidence, knowing that even the moments of uncertainty are contributing to a future that is far greater than we can imagine. Realizing that God's plan is bigger also encourages us to release control. Many times we attempt to force outcomes, manipulate situations, or rush processes according to our own understanding. Yet true fulfillment comes when we relinquish our need for control and trust that God's plan surpasses our vision. His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. When we embrace this truth, we find peace in the midst of uncertainty, clarity in the midst of confusion, and hope in the midst of challenges. Ultimately, God's plan being bigger reminds us that our lives are part of something greater than ourselves. It calls us to trust, to remain faithful, and to continue moving forward even when the path is unclear. Every step, every decision, and every moment is part of a divine orchestration that will culminate in blessings, purpose, and fulfillment beyond our comprehension. By keeping our focus on God and His grand design, we learn to embrace the journey, trust the timing, and step boldly into the destiny He has prepared. When we fully accept that God's plan is bigger, we no longer measure our lives by temporary circumstances or fleeting challenges. Instead, we see every moment as part of a grand, purposeful, and transformative journey. His plan is bigger than fear, bigger than doubt, and bigger than any obstacle. It is perfect, intentional, and meant to bring glory to Him while fulfilling the destiny He has uniquely crafted for each of us. Life rarely unfolds exactly as we plan. We create schedules, set expectations, and work tirelessly toward our goals, yet often we encounter interruptions, unexpected events, delays, or detours that throw us off course. At first, these interruptions can feel frustrating, confusing, or even discouraging. We ask, why now? Why this obstacle? Why me? But what we must understand is that many of these disruptions are not random. They are divine interruptions. God uses these moments to redirect us, to shape us, and to align our lives with His greater purpose. What seems like a disruption in our journey is often a carefully orchestrated intervention, designed to bring about outcomes far beyond what we could plan on our own. Divine interruptions challenge our sense of control. Humans naturally want predictability. We like to know what comes next and feel secure when our plans proceed according to our own timing. Yet God often operates outside of our expectations. These interruptions force us to pause, to reflect, and to reassess our direction. They break our dependence on our own understanding and remind us that life is ultimately in God's hands. Through these moments, He teaches us trust, patience, and the importance of relying on His guidance rather than our own limited perspective. One of the most powerful aspects of divine interruptions is their ability to redirect us toward God's purpose. Many times we may be moving forward with good intentions, working hard and pursuing what seems right, yet we might be headed down a path that is not aligned with God's ultimate plan. A divine interruption, whether it is a closed door, a sudden change, or an unexpected delay, serves as a divine signal that adjustments are needed. It is God saying, "Stop, pay attention, and let me guide you." These interruptions prevent us from settling for less than our calling, and they protect us from outcomes that may seem good, but are not ultimately best for us. Divine interruptions also serve as periods of preparation. When God intervenes in our timeline, He often uses these pauses to equip us for the next stage of our journey. Just as a craftsman shapes raw material into something valuable, God uses interruptions to refine our character, strengthen our faith, and prepare us for responsibilities or blessings that lie ahead. What appears as a delay or setback is actually a season of growth, molding us into the people capable of fulfilling the purposes He has ordained. These interruptions are not punishments. They are divine adjustments, carefully designed to align our lives with His vision. Another important aspect of divine interruptions is the perspective they provide. When we face unexpected changes, it is easy to focus on inconvenience, frustration, or disappointment. Yet, when we shift our perspective, we can see that these interruptions often bring clarity. They open our eyes to opportunities we might have missed, relationships we might have overlooked, or lessons we might have ignored. In hindsight, many people recognize that the moments they once saw as setbacks were actually the turning points that led them to greater blessings. By embracing divine interruptions rather than resisting them, we position ourselves to receive insight, guidance, and unexpected blessings that would not have been possible otherwise. Divine interruptions also remind us that God is intimately involved in our lives. He does not sit distant, allowing events to unfold by chance. Instead, He is actively orchestrating circumstances, sometimes in ways we cannot immediately see. Every sudden detour, every unexpected challenge, and every unplanned event is part of His master plan, carefully designed to bring us closer to our purpose, to protect us, and to guide us toward His best. Recognizing His hand in these interruptions strengthens our faith and increases our awareness of His presence in every aspect of our lives. Ultimately, divine interruptions teach us to trust, surrender, and remain attentive. They challenge our reliance on our own timing and understanding, showing us that God's ways are higher than ours. We learn to embrace interruptions as divine. We no longer fear change, delays, or unexpected events. Instead, we see them as God's invitations to align with His plan, to grow, and to step into the fullness of our destiny. By trusting that each interruption is intentional, we cultivate resilience, patience, and a deeper faith that God is always working for our good, even when life takes an unexpected turn. When we start seeing interruptions not as obstacles but as divine appointments, we begin to walk through life with confidence, knowing that God's guidance is perfect. What seems like a disruption today may become the breakthrough of tomorrow. Divine interruptions are never wasted. They are opportunities, redirections, and preparations that lead us to the path God has meticulously planned for us. Life often presents us with moments that require more than just understanding or effort. They require openness and faith. To be open is to allow God's presence, guidance, and influence into every corner of our lives without reservation. It is the willingness to surrender our own plans, preferences, and expectations so that His perfect plan can unfold. Faith, on the other hand, is the active trust that God's plan is good, even when we cannot see the full picture or understand the reasons behind certain circumstances. Together, openness and faith create a powerful combination that allows us to step into the divine appointments God has arranged for us and fully embrace the blessings He intends for our lives. Openness begins with humility. It requires acknowledging that we do not have all the answers and that our perspective is limited. Humans naturally want to control outcomes, make plans, and create security. But this control can sometimes block God's work in our lives. When we practice openness, we release our tight grip on life and allow God to direct our steps. Being open does not mean passivity or inaction. Rather, it's an active willingness to say, God, I am ready for whatever you have for me. I trust your plan even when it is unclear. This mindset creates space for divine guidance and for unexpected opportunities that we might otherwise overlook. Faith is the force that sustains openness. To be open without faith is merely curiosity, but to be open with faith is to fully trust in God's wisdom, timing, and purpose. Faith allows us to believe in the unseen, to trust in the promises of God, and to act even when the path is uncertain. It empowers us to take steps that may feel risky or uncomfortable because we know that God is with us. Faith transforms waiting into hope, uncertainty into expectation, and challenges into stepping stones toward fulfillment. It enables us to move forward with confidence, knowing that God's plan is bigger than our fears and stronger than our doubts. Openness and faith also allow us to receive God's messages in moments that may seem ordinary or inconvenient. Often, God speaks through circumstances, people, or experiences that do not appear significant at first glance. If we are closed off, distracted, or skeptical, we may miss these divine messages. However, when we remain open and maintain faith, we develop the sensitivity to recognize God's voice in our daily lives. We begin to notice subtle nudges, meaningful coincidences, and moments of insight that guide us toward our purpose. By responding with faith, we move in alignment with God's plan and position ourselves to receive the fullness of His blessings. Practicing openness and faith also cultivates resilience. Life is full of challenges, disappointments, and setbacks, and it is easy to become discouraged when things do not go as planned. However, an open heart paired with faith sees obstacles differently. Challenges are no longer roadblocks, but opportunities for growth and preparation. Setbacks are not failures, but divine redirections toward a better path. When we trust that God's plan is intentional and that He is working all things together for our good, we are able to endure difficulties with courage and perseverance. This resilience strengthens our character and deepens our relationship with God, making us more capable of embracing future blessings. Openness and faith also foster spiritual growth. When we approach life with these qualities, we invite God to shape our thoughts, attitudes, and decisions. We become more receptive to His wisdom, more attuned to His guidance, and more willing to step outside our comfort zones in pursuit of His purpose. This growth not only benefits us personally, but also positions us to impact others positively. A life marked by openness and faith radiates hope, encouragement, and inspiration to those around us, creating a ripple effect of God's influence. Ultimately, openness and faith are about partnership with God. They require us to release, control, trust His timing, and walk boldly into the unknown, believing that He is leading us exactly where we need to be. By practicing openness and faith, we ensure that we are ready to receive the divine appointments God has scheduled for our lives, and we position ourselves to experience the breakthroughs, blessings, and transformation He intends. When we live with an open heart and unwavering faith, we step into life fully aware that every moment, every encounter, and every challenge is an opportunity to align with God's perfect plan. It is in this posture that we can truly embrace the moments He has prepared for us, allowing His guidance to lead us into our destiny with confidence and peace. Life often feels like a series of waiting periods, moments when we hope for change, long for progress, or anticipate the fulfillment of our prayers. During these times, it can be easy to become discouraged, thinking that our efforts are in vain or that our breakthrough may never come. Yet, one of the most powerful truths we can embrace is that breakthrough is near. God's timing is perfect, and every moment we endure, every challenge we face, and every step we take is bringing us closer to the manifestation of His promises. Understanding this truth gives us hope, courage, and renewed strength to keep moving forward, even when the road seems long and uncertain. Breakthrough does not always arrive in the form we expect. Often it comes as a culmination of lessons learned, faith exercised, and patience developed. Life's delays, challenges, and interruptions are not signs of abandonment. Rather, they are preparation for a greater reward. Just as a seed must endure the darkness of the soil before it breaks through to the sunlight, we too must pass through seasons of waiting, growth, and refining before reaching our breakthrough. Every tear shed, every effort made, and every moment of faithfulness contributes to the readiness for that moment when God's blessing will emerge. Believing that breakthrough is near requires faith. Faith is the assurance that the invisible is real, that God is actively working on our behalf, and that the best is yet to come. It is the unwavering conviction that what God has promised will come to pass, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Faith allows us to endure trials with hope, persevere in the face of obstacles, and remain steadfast when the outcome is uncertain. When we cling to this faith, we align ourselves with the divine momentum that is propelling us toward our breakthrough, ensuring that we do not give up prematurely or settle for less than God's best. Breakthrough is often preceded by moments of testing. Life may challenge us, stretch our limits, or confront us with situations that seem impossible to overcome. These moments are not signs of failure, but are opportunities for God to strengthen us, refine our character, and prepare us for the responsibilities that come with breakthrough. Testing reveals our resilience, builds our endurance, and teaches us to rely on God rather than our own strength. In this way, the period leading up to breakthrough is just as important as the breakthrough itself, because it ensures that we are equipped to handle the blessings, opportunities, and influence that await us. Another important aspect to understand is that breakthrough is not always instantaneous or dramatic. Sometimes it comes as a subtle shift, a quiet turning point, or a sudden clarity that changes the course of our lives. We may not always recognize it immediately, but the signs are there if we remain attentive, prayerful, and faithful. Breakthrough is the natural outcome of consistent effort, perseverance, and trust in God's timing. When we stay aligned with His will, our actions, prayers, and patience converge to create the perfect chance for transformation. Recognizing that breakthrough is near also cultivates gratitude and hope. When we believe that God is about to move, we can look at our current circumstances with a sense of anticipation rather than despair. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is lacking to what is present, reinforcing our faith that God's promises are on the verge of fulfillment. Hope energizes us to continue, providing the strength and courage to keep moving forward even when the path is challenging. Together, hope and gratitude sustain us during the waiting period, allowing us to approach breakthrough with joy and expectation rather than fear and frustration. Ultimately, knowing that breakthrough is near calls us to action. It encourages us to remain faithful, to continue pursuing our goals, to maintain integrity, and to trust that every step is leading us closer to God's intended outcome. It reminds us that setbacks are temporary, obstacles are surmountable, and God's timing is perfect. When we combine faith, perseverance, and openness to God's guidance, we position ourselves to receive the breakthrough that is already on its way. When you embrace the truth that breakthrough is near, you transform your waiting into preparation, your struggles into lessons, and your faith into action. Every challenge becomes meaningful, every delay purposeful, and every moment a step closer to the fulfillment of God's promises. The breakthrough you've been praying for, hoping for, and trusting for is not far away. It is nearer than you realize. All you need is patience, faith, and readiness to receive what God has meticulously prepared for you. In life, every moment carries purpose, and every challenge holds meaning. We have explored 6 powerful truths today: that God's timing is perfect, that pausing and paying attention opens us to His guidance, that His plan is bigger than anything we can imagine, that divine interruptions are meant to redirect and prepare us, that openness and faith allow us to receive His blessings, and that breakthrough is always near. Each of these truths is a reminder that nothing in our lives is random. Every second, every encounter, and every circumstance is carefully orchestrated by a loving God who desires the best for us. The key is to stop scrolling, stop rushing, and stop allowing distractions to steal this divine moment from you. God scheduled this moment for you. This exact pause in your day, this exact moment to hear, see, and embrace His purpose. When you trust His timing, pay attention to His guidance, and step forward with faith, you align yourself with the extraordinary life He has planned. Even when life seems uncertain or challenges feel overwhelming, remember that God is at work behind the scenes, preparing you, shaping you, and guiding you toward your destiny. This is your divine appointment. A moment like this may never come again. When you open your heart, embrace faith, and recognize God's presence in your life, you position yourself for breakthroughs, blessings, and transformations that will exceed anything you could achieve on your own. So stop scrolling, stop doubting, and stop waiting for the right time, because the right time is now. God scheduled this moment for you, and He is ready to lead you into the next chapter of your life. Trust Him, follow Him, and believe that the best is yet to come. Step into this moment with confidence, knowing that God is with you, God is for you, and God's plan for your life is far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Your breakthrough is near. Your purpose is unfolding, and this moment is just the beginning of all the incredible things God has in store for you.